So I'm on Twitter today looking around, seeing, what's popping off today, and I see that there was some promotional posters for the upcoming Dragon Ball Super BROLY film that's coming to theaters in December in Japan and then in the US in January. So I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, cool, and we have quite a few of them. There was one in particular that I was like, bro, you're joking right now, right? So the ones that we did get, let's start off from the left and then we'll make our way to the right, because funny enough, that was the last one out of all of the posters that I actually seen. I think in the order that they were put on were in that order as well, but I was just like, are you kidding me right now? But again, let's look at them and then we'll lead up to the big, oh my god, are you kidding me right now? So for starters, we got some, typical, okay, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Vegeta Super Saiyan Blue, or Vegeta Blue, Goku Blue, whatever, which it's kind of making me wonder, is that going to be like, we're not going to get new transformations in this film, is what I'm really feeling, which, I mean, we've had so many transformations ever since we got the revitalization of Dragon Ball, it came back. We got God Mode, we got Super Saiyan Blue, we got Vegeta's new Super Saiyan Ultra, whatever the hell it was called, the blue with, and then of course we had the Omen form, the Ultra Instinct, imperfected, then we had the perfected Ultra Instinct with the silver hair. So we had a lot of different transformations, and it seems as though for the most part of this film, maybe towards the end, Goku might tap into Ultra Instinct again, but for the most part, it's gonna be the Super Saiyan Blue transformations, which again is good because we've just had so many transformations. Let it breathe a little bit before we get a new one, or if we get a new TV anime at some given point in the future, then we could do that again. But for now, it's good to keep it to the basics of, okay, we got Super Saiyan Blue, and that's been the big deal. I'm curious to see, though, are we going to see Ultra Instinct in this film again? Like, are we going to see, I think at this point, seeing the black-haired form, I don't think we need to see that. We saw it was kind of like Goku went through, even though the tournament was, only less than an hour long, and Goku went through all of this, training throughout Ultra Instinct, and then, of course, he lost it in the end, and he can't do it again. Well, it's not that he lost it, but it's such a complex thing to kind of achieve, so he can't necessarily just tap into it again. Maybe again we'll see in the movie, maybe we won't, whatever. And I'm kind of curious if we're gonna see Vegeta's mode, where it was like Super Saiyan Blue. I forget what the name was. It came out with an official name. I even made a video about it, but I'm curious to see if we're gonna have the sparkling Vegeta mode as well. But again, that's what we have with those two posters. Then of course we have Broly in his hulking, legendary Super Saiyan form. I'm curious as well if we're gonna get a different transformation for him altogether. I mean, if you think about it, they're probably gonna hold off on any more transformations for like Broly or whatever, just because if this is kind of taking it back, right, this is not continuing on from the Broly we know, this is kind of remaking Broly, a reboot of Broly, so to speak, for a canonical type of setting, instead of just it being like, oh, the movies, but it doesn't really count. No, Broly is going to be officially inserted into the film and into the franchise or whatever as far as the story goes. So getting this Broly, it makes sense. I mean, if we get another transformation, it's gonna be like, well, shoot, he kind of has this already, not necessarily brand new, because obviously they hinted at a lot of this with Kale in the tournament. And to be honest with you, now that I know that they were planning on this film, I think they had the script since June, probably Kale was to test the waters a little bit. It's making me wonder, like, maybe with Kale and having her go into the hulking crazy form and looking like Broly and everything, that was to see, do people still really want Broly? Do people get excited? And of course, it showed that everyone went crazy, whether good or bad, whether you hated it or loved it, everyone did not stop talking about Kale and her Broly-esque transformation. So getting that transformation again, that should be the peak, at the very least, in this film. Now, if we get a sequel to this film, or they bring it back for the TV anime and go further, then maybe Broly can unlock something else. But for now, keep it like that. Honestly, it's brand new to the storyline, in a sense of, this is Broly's ultimate transformation, and of course he's going to be super hulking strong, even though we still got a question like, hey, that's just kind of normal Super Saiyan, but legendary version of it. But whatever, it's a reboot, so it's gonna be rewritten differently. And of course, Broly is just a whole different being altogether, so we can't really necessarily classify it as just simple Super Saiyan, but a little bit beyond or something like that. Then moving forward, we have Golden Frieza. Golden Frieza, I mean, there's not much to really say about it. We've seen it a million times, and cool little poster. Honestly, these posters, they're cool. They're not the most detailed or whatever, but I think also just looking at these four, for example, it showcases that the art in this one, and of course we've seen the trailers or whatever, is going to be more simplistic and less on all the shading and the CG look that, you know, Dragon Ball Super had, especially towards the end where everything was just glowing and shiny or whatever. I think it's going to bring it back to the basics of early, like, Dragon Ball Z, where the art style and the animation, but in particular the art style, was just a lot more simplified than what, especially, you know, again, it became towards the end of Z, and, you know, Dragon Ball Super in general is one shiny thing, which I loved it, to be honest. I loved the look of Dragon Ball Super when it was really on point, but again, they're bringing it back, which is kind of cool. Then moving forward, we have Piccolo. Not much to say about Piccolo. Again, nice and different in the simplistic art style, but it's Piccolo. And then moving forward from there, we have Beerus and Whis. Honestly, Beerus looks a little bit, with this new art style, the simplistic art style, he slightly looks a little bit different than the Beerus we've seen up until this point, because remember when Dragon Ball came back, it kind of had that consistent look from Battle of Gods all the way, you know, Resurrection F, and then through Super. So Beerus in this art style is kind of new territory in a sense, just because we haven't seen Beerus in the old series or anything like that. So looking at him like this, it looks slightly different. I mean, it still looks straight up like Beerus, but in terms of like less detail, he looks a little bit more, I don't really know what to call it. It has like that One Piece feel in a way, because One Piece, you know, even though it can look really pretty and shiny, it has a little bit of a more simplistic style, and it kind of has that vibe. Whis looks identical, but Beerus, I like that, and I don't know what he's thinking about right there. More than likely it's like, how can I get some food and destroy some idiots, right? But, you know, again, all cool stuff. Now moving forward to the problematic aspect. Why? I don't understand this. We have a poster for Bulma, which Bulma looks fine. Bulma cool. We even get to see a little bit of her bra, some Bulma fan service. Bulma's always been like the heart of fan service for Dragon Ball, right? Though, like, I mean, she was flashing a little bit to Master Roshi in OG Dragon Ball, so that's kind of supposed to be par for the course with Bulma. Although, to be fair, like, isn't Bulma already, like, you know, supposed to be a little more mature? Bulma, what you doing there, girl? Like, stop with the Instagram nonsense. But we got Bulma there, and then this is it, where if you look at it timeline wise, right? Dragon Ball Super at this point, if this happens even after the tournament, I don't know if it's months after, a few weeks after, whatever, but there was a decent amount of time period between all of Dragon Ball, because if I'm not mistaken, Super, or the Battle of Gods portion of it, right? It takes place, what is it, 6 months after the Majin Buu incident? So there's 6 months, and then there's a decent amount of time throughout all of Dragon Ball Super that passes. There's quite a few, you know, Pan was born at a given point. There's a lot of time has had to have passed, and we see Goten and Trunks, and they look straight up like they did the very first time we seen them in Dragon Ball Z in the tournament arc, you know, the Majin Buu stuff. They look just straight up identical. You could argue maybe Trunks' hair is a little bit shorter and his legs look a little bit longer, but Goten straight up looks like he's still 7 years old. And at this point, I'm not sure exactly, I don't want to missay or misspeak on how old Goten should be, but he should be a few years older than that. And if we're getting close to, you know, the point in Dragon Ball Z, the time skip towards the end of Dragon Ball Z, they should look a little bit older. We should have either tween or something along the lines of that, Goten and Trunks, but they look identical still. Like, I don't understand. Okay, I get it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, Dragon Ball is not broke. Everybody loves the formula. You know, people been going wild for it. They love everything how it's been or whatever. But Goten and Trunks, I mean, at the end of the day, the fandom has been saying for quite some time, like, when are they gonna grow up? When are we gonna see Goten and Trunks look in their teenage years? Especially if we're getting close to the point, because at the end of Dragon Ball Z, they're older. They look a lot older. They're teens, and they've grown a lot. So unless we're gonna do like Kobe from One Piece situation where yeah, they had an incredible growth spurt, it's gonna be a little bit silly that they still look like they're 7 and 8 years old when technically they should be a lot older. Not a lot, I don't want to say like they're 20 years old, but they should be, I want to say 12, 13. Again, I'm totally not sure exactly how old, but they should be a few years older at the very least and look a little bit older, but they still are keeping them like that. And to be honest with you, the big thing that comes to my mind is they don't want to mess around with things too much, because look at GT. GT was a prime example of messing with the formula, and then people went, no, you can keep that. So maybe in their mind, they're like, you know, people love the way Dragon Ball has been up until this point. They love Super. If we mess with it, it might mess things up. People might not like that Goten and Trunks are older, so let's just keep them as is. But at the end of the day, let's try and make a little bit of sense out of stuff. And Goten and Trunks should be a little bit older looking at this point. I don't think the fandom's going to be mad at them looking a little bit older. I mean, even if you change up slightly the hairstyle, because we know Goten's hairstyle changed when he got a little bit older, you could start changing that up or something. Like, keeping them at that age at this point is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, come on now. How you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the most horrible thing in the world, but at the same time, it's like, these are two characters, and I'll never forget when I seen them back in their debut in Dragon Ball Z. When I seen them, I was like, they have all the potential in the world. These could be some awesome characters, and especially once we got to the Tournament of Power Super, they've been relegated to nothing. Like, they're just not important anymore, where there could be some great stuff to be done with these two characters. Again, I don't know if they just don't want to mess around with things too much because they don't want to break it or whatever, but changing some stuff is fine. I mean, it's not going to destroy anything. It's not going to make us love Dragon Ball any less. If Goten and Trunks look a little bit older, you want to still have them acting like kiddos or whatever, fine. But age them a bit. I'm just saying, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing here? We're going into Broly, and kind of curious what you guys think about this. At this point, first of all, for the people that they have the info off the top of their head, how old is Goten and Trunks at this point in Dragon Ball Super, where we're at with the Broly movie? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know exactly how much of a time skip it is from the end of the Tournament of Power to this film, but more or less, how old were they at the end of Super, let's say, and then, you know, add maybe a month or a few weeks to it. I doubt it's going to be years, right? Because especially if they're keeping them like this, please, no more years passing or whatever. So what do you think about all of this, though? Do you think that Goten and Trunks looking this age is like, does it make any sense? Can you make any sense out of it? We know that, you know, Saiyans age differently, but we have that precursor of what they look like at the end of Z, and they don't look like this. They should already be somewhat getting closer, or if not almost at that point, of how they looked at the end of Z. And your overall thoughts and expectations for these characters? I don't expect much in this movie from them at all, to be honest with you. I probably see maybe a small cameo of them here or there goofing off, but yeah, I don't see Goten and Trunks having much to do with in this film, and that's probably why they didn't even really care to age them. But if we get another, like, movie after this, and it's like a year later, or we get the TV anime coming back, and there's time skips, age these kids already, please. Like, I'm sure they hear the fandom saying what's going on. It's a little ridiculous. I know they could pass it off as a joke of like, oh yeah, you know, they had a growth spurt at some given point and do that, but I mean, everybody else is kind of aging the way they should. I mean, are they going to keep Pan as a baby? And like, if they do a 3-4 year time skip, no, right? So definitely they need to be older. But that is all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and hit the bell to get all notifications, as well as if you want to follow any of my other social medias, it's in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Bow. Have an awesome day. We make a major move, laugh and let the haters lose. We don't give a fuck, virginity intact, clean stack. Paper rules, if you heard it, best believe that. But now it's whatever, one day I'll be your favorite, but never. No matter how you move.